Hey, I'm ZSH Plays, and I'm touring every major zoo in Singapore. 2 days, 4 zoos, 1,000 animals. From Singapore Zoo to the night safari, and from bird paradise to river wonders. Let's go! First up is Singapore Zoo itself. All 4 of these incredible zoos are gathered together in the Mandai Wildlife Reserve, and here we are at the entrance. Let's head to the first habitat, the Treetops Trail. The first thing you'll notice when you enter Singapore Zoo is this, just how lush and gorgeous everything is. The zoo's basically a living jungle, and the Treetops Trail is the perfect introduction. I'm going to use so many superlatives in this video. I should probably point out that this is not in any way sponsored by Mandai Wildlife Reserve or anyone else. I just really enjoyed it. The Treetops Trail is home to a pair of siamang. You can see one in the distance there, along with mouse deer and full scarial. The siamang are the main attraction for me. The largest members of the Gibbon family, they spend their time swinging through the trees, and this habitat really showcases that. You can get so close to them here on this elevated walkway, and the area is so large you can always find a spot to get a good view of them. I think this is the first time I've seen siamang, so I was really excited to get this chance. They are big, muscular apes, and you really realise that when you get up close to them. They're also famous for their ear-splitting vocalizations, which they use their extendable throat sacs to generate, but they're actually being pretty quiet here. Next up is a couple of smaller habitats for Babirusa and lowland anoa. These are 2 species native to Indonesia. The Babirusa you see here is probably the most unique member of the pig family, and the anoa is a secretive jungle-living bovine and the smallest of the wild cattle species. Opposite the Babirusa is this habitat, home to one of the most popular zoo animals, the Asian small-clawed otter. I've seen these in so many zoos, but I never tire of them. They're just so cute and characterful. It's always a pleasure to see them in action, and here they are. The habitat here is gorgeous. It's a good size with great viewing, lots of different terrain, and it extends back behind the fence, so they have more room than it looks like here. I was lucky enough to visit at feeding time, so let's check that out. Look at them catching their fish. Otters are similar to raccoons in that they like to wash their food before they eat it, and there are a few zoo experiences I enjoy more than just watching these little dudes snacking away on some fish. You can't hear it from here, but their enthusiastic smacking sounds as they eat is adorable. This isn't the only family of small-clawed otters in the zoo either. We will see more of them later. Now, from one of the most popular zoo animals to one of the rarest in the world, a monkey that is only held in a handful of zoos, all of them in Asia, it's the Proboscis monkey. I'm so excited to see these. I think unique would be the best way to describe these monkeys. The nose of the male is fairly large, definitely a striking face rather than a beautiful one, but their babies are absolutely adorable, and we are about to see some. The landscaping around this habitat is absolutely stunning. And to get inside, you cross a bridge over this pond, which is filled with turtles. I'm not sure what species this is, so let me know in the comments if you do. I was particularly taken with the way that they squirt water out of their noses as they eat. I did not know they did that, but check this out. There we go. Alright, enough turtles, let's go in and check out the monkeys. So the Proboscis monkey habitat is outside, with the guest viewing on the inside. And look at this, I love how there's a river full of fish below their habitat. That's really clever. And there are some pretty sizable fish in here as well, like these Asian arowana. And then above and beyond the river are the Proboscis monkeys themselves. You can see them up here. We'll get a better view in a second. I believe the reason that their habitat is viewed through glass in this building is to protect them from human diseases. Proboscis monkeys are not only very rare, but also very fragile. They're incredibly fussy eaters, which is one of the reasons they are exclusively held in zoos in this part of Asia, because they only eat native plants. They're not the only animal in this part of the habitat either. They share it with muntjac. They're also known as barking deer, although they didn't do any barking while I was here. The Proboscis monkey is possibly the animal I'm most excited to see today. I have never seen one before, and seeing as I live in England and they're only held in Asia, I will possibly never see one again. Look at these little dudes though. We have some juveniles and females here, and then in the top spot is the male. He's showing off his very impressive nose. The juveniles are really playful. You can see this one here causing all sorts of mischief. Possibly a little too playful for the female here. But that's what kids do. Look at them, they're so cute. He's causing all sorts of trouble. And that's the Proboscis monkeys. It was a privilege seeing him in the flesh, I have to say. Next up is Primate Kingdom. This area of the zoo is home to most of the zoo's 39 different species of primate, most of whom have their own island to live on, including these spider monkeys, along with ring-tailed lemurs, red ruffed lemurs, tamarins, black and white colobus, Duke's langur, and Saki monkeys. There's also great white pelicans living in the waters surrounding the islands. This is the first island you come to. As well as the spider monkeys, there's buff-cheeked gibbons here. You can see them using their prehensile tail to swing and then walk across a vine here. And how gorgeous is this island? The planting and the landscaping all around Singapore Zoo is just next level. It's one of the most amazing zoos I've ever seen. There's another island which features black and white rough lemurs, possibly the most beautiful of the lemurs, I think. They're absolutely gorgeous, love these. Let's move on and check out the next exhibit, which is a mixed species habitat for another group of small-clawed otters and orangutan. Also massive fish, because they are everywhere in this zoo. Small-clawed otters are actually native to Singapore, so they are more than at home here. Here's the orangs. I think the otters stole the show a bit. There's a party of school kids behind us, and the otters are showing off. One of the orangs is pretty active as well, swinging around on the, I think that's a fire hose, which is nice because they're not normally that active when I see them in zoos. They have both Sumatran and Bornean orangs here. Look how majestic this one is sitting at the top of the tree. Next door to the orangs is the largest of the islands for a family of chimpanzees. Great use of real trees in this habitat, although I feel like it could be larger. I'm not sure how big the off-show area is. Maybe they've got loads of space back there, but I feel like chimps are really active. They would probably appreciate more space than this. Now, if you like reptiles, you're in for a treat because we are heading to Reptopia. As the name would suggest, Reptopia is home to the majority of Singapore Zoo's reptiles. We start small with this beautiful veiled chameleon, but we'll see some much bigger reptiles shortly. This red-tailed racer snake is very inquisitive. There's also an incredible selection of poison frogs. The ornate and infinitely varied colour schemes are just fascinating on their tiny little bodies. These are some of my favourite amphibians. Tree frogs and poison frogs, they're so beautiful, and there's just so many different types of them, you never get tired of looking at them. Let's look at something larger though, much larger, the Komodo Dragon. This habitat offers incredible views as there's a dry moat hidden under the vegetation in front of the dragon, so we get an uninterrupted view of him here. There's no glass getting in the way, and just look at the size of him. I love how he has this rock formation to climb up on and just sit there, majestically surveying his surroundings. I think all zoos that hold Komodo dragons should have some sort of rock formation like this, it's awesome. There's also another viewing area that is behind glass that allows us to get even closer. Let's take a look at that. This is a great example of multiple viewing in a habitat. The dry moat earlier lets us feel like there's nothing between us and the dragon, and then the glass here lets us get this close to him. I could watch this dragon all day, but let's head to what I've heard is one of the most spectacular exhibits in the whole of Singapore Zoo, the Fragile Forest. Here it is, let's go in. The Fragile Forest starts with this fairly unassuming entrance hall, followed by a butterfly house, and then the centerpiece, a huge indoor rainforest featuring everything from sloths and mouse deer to the world's largest bats. We'll take a quick look at a couple of the animals in this part. Here's an axolotl. This is what wild axolotl look like. The pet shop ones are albinos. We've got this cute frog, and then let's move on into the butterfly house. There are a lot of butterflies in here. I really like it. Although I don't think she's enjoying it as much as me. I love a good butterfly house, which is strange as I'm not actually very interested in butterflies themselves, but there's just something about being inside a habitat that's really cool. You can get so close to them, especially when they're on their feeding platforms like this. Their colours and markings are amazing. And this one even decided to come and check me out, which was cool. Let's head into the main attraction here, the forest itself. This is one of the coolest habitats I've ever been to. The vibes in here are incredible. And the best thing about it are these guys, the Malayan flying fox. These are the largest bats in the world, and we're going to get a lot closer to them in a minute. There are so many different types of habitat and species in this exhibit. We've got some white ibis here, and then we've got a pool here with a pig-nosed turtle in it, and then something really cool which I've never seen before, freshwater stingrays. Here they are. The transitions from water to land to treetops in this habitat works absolutely perfectly. You can see the bats roosting up there. And who's this? Proboscis squirrel just nibbling away on this plant here. It's amazing to be so close to these animals. These are a really, really cute squirrel. And they're not the only type of squirrel in here. They also have Finlayson squirrel. What a cutie. There's a two-toed sloth behind him as well. Looks like it's flowers for dinner. We're on an elevated walkway here, which means we can get close enough to touch touch the flying foxes. Not that we're going to do that. We are responsible zoo visitors after all. But just check this guy out. Absolutely magnificent. This is one of the most amazing animal experiences I've ever had. I was in here for so long, but it's time to leave and check out another exhibit, the gharial. Hidden away in all these vines and bamboo is a pretty spectacular habitat. I believe it used to hold saltwater crocodiles, but now it holds gharial. The gharial is an Indian crocodilian, which exclusively eats fish. Not sure if this one is on the menu or not. They're pretty rare in zoos. I think this is only the second time I've seen them. And they're pretty elusive in this habitat as well. It's a really interesting habitat. There's seating up there, and alongside the gharial live Burmese roofed turtles. You can see one here, and a whole host of fish. Sadly, the gharial is right at the back of the habitat, so this is the best view of it that we're going to get. But we got a much better view of the sun bear next door, the smallest and probably cutest of the bears. And from the smallest of the bears to the largest of the cats, it's the tiger. This, I believe, is a Malayan tiger. These logs that they can climb give you an amazing view. But it's not all lush jungle in Singapore Zoo. We're off to a much drier area, Australia. They've done a great job of making a much drier looking environment for their Australian area, which is home to these grey kangaroos amongst others. And the area seems to be very popular with cicadas as well. You can hear them screaming and buzzing away in the background here. They also have wallaby here, but I don't see any of them at the moment. Let's move on and take a look at the largest animals in the zoo, the Asian elephants. To get to Elephants of Asia, we're walking down a really long path which takes us past the river that the Mandai Wildlife Reserve is built around. We'll see a lot more of that river at River Wonders later on in the video, appropriately enough. But here are the elephants. I think their habitat's being cleaned at this point because they seem to be confined to this area here. But the habitat itself is much larger than this. It's split into sections, which is quite common in zoos, so they can be cleaned easier. Let's move on to one of the largest areas in the zoo, Africa. The first thing you see in the African area are Hamadryas baboons and some more amazing theming. This is probably the most immersive zoo I've been to, although being in Singapore does make it a lot easier to have jungle theming, seeing as we are quite literally in a jungle here. Everywhere you look there's wildlife, even genuinely wildlife, such as this green-crested lizard just chilling out in this bush here. This African area holds 17 different species, but the baboons are definitely my favourite. We'll go and find them now. It's quite a walk to get up to where the baboons are, but I don't mind that. I like winding paths in zoos. It gives you the time to acclimatise to the surroundings and gives the zoo the opportunity to put in theming like these huts here. And along with all the plants and vegetation, it builds anticipation for the animals that you're about to see and gets you in the right frame of mind to see them. I see some very impressive looking rockwork up ahead, so I think we may have found the habitat. Alright, here they are. They are amazing. Baboons are so dynamic. I don't know how many they hold here, but it is a massive troop. This is just a tiny part of it. And the rockwork in this habitat is just sublime. There's one right on top of the rocks there. And they are constantly on the move, play fighting and chasing each other around the habitat. And look at this little baby here. Round the corner in the other part of their habitat, you can see just how many baboons they have here. And isn't this just the cutest meerkat habitat you've ever seen? Elsewhere in the African section, there is a beautiful habitat for lions. What a view. There's also a giraffe yard. These are Rothschild's giraffe. And hidden away on a side path is one of my favourite animals that we see today, a Sri-Lankan leopard. This animal is absolutely gorgeous. It's having a nap right now, just like a giant house cat, but it's soon awake and still acting like a giant house cat. Again, we've got two different types of viewing, the mesh viewing and glass viewing as well, so you can get different views of the animal. And it was a real privilege being this close to a leopard. Well, I need a rest off all these animals, so I'll take a seat in this spectacular auditorium. And that is Singapore Zoo. Hands down, one of the best zoos I've ever been to. Time now for a quick snack while we wait for darkness to fall, so we can visit zoo number 2, the night safari. This is a unique zoo experience. It's only open at night and it's home to almost exclusively nocturnal animals. I cannot describe how atmospheric it is in here in the darkness with just occasional lighting like this. Now, unfortunately, almost total darkness and no flash photography allowed is not an ideal combination for filming, so we'll be taking a very quick tour here. If it's not lit up, it is almost impossible to film, but I did get some footage of this fishing cat, one of the smallest of the cat family and so cute. Being a nocturnal zoo, you get to see loads and loads of animals that you wouldn't normally get to see in a zoo. The darkness seems to affect the guests as well. We're all quiet as a mouse in here. I'm going to show you an animal that you very rarely get to see outside of Australasia, the Tasmanian Devil, although they are asleep. Even in a nocturnal zoo, I can only conclude that they are much lazier than their reputation suggests. And the zoo does some really interesting things with lights here. For example, did you know that scorpions glow under a UV light? Well, now you do. The night safari also features a tram ride around some of the larger animals like this elephant. It's a narrated tour, so you can feel like you're in Jurassic Park. And that is the night safari. Definitely a more enjoyable place to visit than to try and film, but we're going to have some much better footage of the zoos tomorrow. Time for bed. Tomorrow we'll be heading to Bird Paradise and River Wonders. Day 2, and feeling suitably smug, it's time to hit Bird Paradise. Wow. Now that is how to build a zoo entrance. Look at the size of that waterfall. We're getting covered in spray as we walk past. It's absolutely amazing here, and we've not even got inside yet. Let's follow the sign and head on in. Alright, we've got some escalators here. I love a zoo on 2 levels, it's so dynamic. Let's go up. Here we go. I don't think I've ever spent this long in the entrance to a zoo before, but it's just so pretty here. You can see a crane in the background there. There's a lot of work going on in the entrances and all over these parks actually. And that's because Mandai Wildlife Reserve is an ongoing project, and they'll soon be opening the final zoo in this area, Rainforest Wild. So I guess I'll be coming back at some point to see that. It's only a 19-hour flight away after all. One final view of the waterfall, and then we should probably actually go into the zoo. This is the first area we've come to, the Winged Sanctuary. It's a collection of beautiful individual aviaries, mostly housing an enormous collection of hornbills. I had no idea there were so many different species of hornbill or how varied they are, but I certainly do now. Bird Paradise is a brand new zoo. It only opened a few months ago. It replaced the previous Jurong Bird Park, which is where Mandai Wildlife Reserve held the majority of their bird collection. Check this hornbill out, he's got a mouse. But they closed that down last year to replace it with Bird Paradise, so everything here is new. The climax of the hornbill collection is this great hornbill. Although the aviaries are brand new, this is a more traditional way of showing birds. The rest of Bird Paradise is split into massive walk-through aviaries. But before we get to them, it's time to check out the coolest penguin habitat I've ever seen, Penguin Cove. We're stood at the bottom of a huge Antarctic-style water tank. There's penguins swimming around above us, which is a really unique angle to see them from. And then we can go up to the next level just on the waterline here, which is very important for what is about to happen in this habitat. The exhibit holds king penguins, along with gentoo and rockhopper penguins as well. But the coolest thing about it is what you're about to see here. Oh my god, that is so cool. Honestly, I've been stood here for about half an hour now. I just can't stop watching them hop out of the water and then waddle off into the distance. Here's the gentoo penguins. They're really cute, all off for a swim. I love the theming in here. It is cold as well, which is obviously for the penguins' benefit, not ours, but it really helps sell the Antarctic theming when you're in a really, really cold area like this. Definitely one of my favourite zoo exhibits of all time. Time to leave our penguin friends and go out somewhere very different, the outback. This Australian area is the first of the huge walk-through aviaries which make up the main part of Bird Paradise. They are meshed over, but the mesh is so high up you stop noticing it and it just feels like you're in a completely open area, which is great. You can just see one of the support poles in the distance there. I've just spotted our first Australian bird on a ledge over here. Let's check it out. It's a tawny frogmouth. Such a unique bird. They are absolutely crazy looking, normally disguised as a tree trunk, although it doesn't really work when you're sat on a ledge. There's some kind of parrot up here. I have to admit, birds are not my area of expertise, so I couldn't identify all the species we saw. I can identify this one though. It's an emu. Probably one of the most recognizable birds on the planet, so no prizes for me there. It is right next to the path there, so let's head on over and check it out. Their colouring is really striking when you get up close to them. They actually look quite similar to cassowaries, which are one of my favourite birds. I'm very much hoping we're going to see one of those shortly in this area, seeing as this is where they come from as well. Look at his face. You can see why they're so popular. Who wouldn't love a face like that? I think he's about to take a drink here. There we go, that's a very quick drink. We're going to move to the next aviary, Mysterious Papua. Oh, things are getting lush again. Got some nice signage here. All the signage throughout these zoos is really high end. I've seen online, although I don't know if it is accurate or not, that the redevelopments of all the zoos in the Mandai Wildlife Reserve had a budget of $1 billion. And you can really see it. Like I said, I don't know if that is the exact figure or not. We got some Victoria crowned pigeons here, the largest of the pigeon family. And something else in front of them, not sure what that is. Let me know in the comments if you can identify that. This one appears to be sat in one of their water trays. Not sure that's the designed usage for it. I don't think it's a bird bath. Looks a bit small for these guys. We saw these in the Fragile Forest in Singapore Zoo as well. They're really impressive birds. What do we have here? Plants. Lots and lots of lovely plants. I wonder how many gardeners they employ here. Must be a massive job keeping this looking good with all the birds in here. Here's what I assume is another species of pigeon. Very handsome chap. Just munching away on some very tasty looking fruit here. Oh, he really is beautiful. Alright, consulting the signs, it was actually Sclater's crowned pigeon that we just saw, and this gorgeous bird is Pinon's imperial pigeon. Got there in the end. I could watch this pigeon for hours, but we should probably move on and see what else we can find in Mysterious Papua. So let's take a look. Got some more gorgeous planting, which is pretty much standard for this place. You can see the mesh right up there. Like I say, it's really, really far away. Okay, now we have a sign for cassowary. This is one of my favourite birds. Really excited to see these. They are probably the most dinosaur looking of the birds. Absolutely awesome. Yes, I know birds are dinosaurs. Don't at me. Let's see if we can find one. Yeah, there we go. Just in the reeds or bushes, whatever they are at the back there. These masks are cool as well. The crest on the cassowary's head and their enormous talons bring to mind Velociraptor, although these are much bigger than a Velociraptor was. There's another one here as well. You can see the enormous talons on their toes there. The final aviary in the Australasian section is the lorry-loft. It's absolutely packed to bursting with these cute little lorikeets. So many of them in here. Lots of food bowls all around so you can get up close to them. And that's Australasia. Next up was Amazonian Jewels, which had an amazing sign, but very few visible birds. So let's head to the next aviary in Bird Paradise, the Crimson Wetlands. There is a lot going on in here. It's pretty spectacular. I don't know how high this mesh is, but I would estimate very. First up is a lake for Chilean and American flamingos. They're the most colourful of the flamingos. They look absolutely amazing. They're very noisy as well. And there's also a really unique tank for diving birds where you can see them swimming underwater. Or at least you can if you've timed it better than we have here. We got some big macaws here as well. They are really impressive. I think this is one of my favourite aviaries here. Time for the next one though. It's Wings of Asia. This aviary is stuffed full of Balinese architecture, and I love Balinese architecture. I am in absolute heaven right now. Just look at this stuff, it's so cool. As the name suggests, this aviary concentrates on Asian birds, mainly from Indonesia and the surrounding areas. Species in this aviary include green peafowl, Papuan hornbills, black-faced spoonbills, great argus, and bar-headed geese. We're actually seeing more bamboo than birds here at the moment. Not sure where they all are, but I can hear something scrabbling about down here. I'm not 100% what species this is. I think it might be a female great argus. But again, let me know in the comments if I've got that wrong. Whatever it is, it's very attractive. It's got these iridescent blue dots on its back, which I really like. Let's move on to the final aviary, which is definitely not short of birds, the Heart of Africa. This is the biggest aviary in Bird Paradise. These wooden poles carved with African animals are really cool, very imposing. Birds in here include shoebills, grey parrots, weaver birds, cranes, ibis, and even a family of ring-tailed lemurs. And the planting again in here is just incredible. I can hear a bird somewhere, but I can't see where it is, so we'll keep looking. I think it's down here somewhere. Here it is, an iconic African bird, the grey-crowned crane. You can hear its insistent cry if you listen carefully. This little cutie, I think, is a lovebird of some description. Not sure of the exact species, but it's very charismatic, bobbing about on its branch here. And this gorgeous creature is a purple starling. I'm not just being descriptive, that's actually what it's called. And there's what I think is another species of starling joining him here. I couldn't identify this one, so let me know in the comments. It might not be a starling at all. And now, sadly, it's time to see our last bird, the bald ibis, looking like a mad professor or something. Well, bird paradise has blown me away, to be honest. Every aviary in here is so stunning. I've had an incredible time. But it is time to hit the road to our final destination, River Wonders. Another beautiful entrance here. Not quite as spectacular as bird paradise, but I love this little otter water feature. As you've probably guessed, this zoo focuses on animals that live in or by rivers, and appropriate enough, the zoo itself sits by the river that we saw earlier in Singapore Zoo. A selection of the world's greatest rivers get their own areas here, and we're starting with the Amazonian flooded forest. The first animals we see are these giant otters, and the habitat features an underwater tunnel, so you can walk through the water you see here. We're going to check that out in a minute. Hopefully they'll be a bit more active by then. Let's head inside, as there's an animal here I have never seen and I am very excited about them. No, it's not these freshwater stingrays. We've already seen them, although they are very cool. We're going to go and see something much larger. Manatees. These animals are so unique. They look like a cross between a seal and a hippo, but there's just something about the way they serenely float along, barely moving a muscle, that I love. There's a real beauty about them despite their rather rotund appearance. These fish are pretty sizable as well, but they are dwarfed by the manatees. Let's go downstairs and see them under the water. Wow, that is quite a sight. The classic aquarium technique of having a darkened room with a lit tank works brilliantly. And the views here are incredible. We've got some catfish here, and then more manatees. It's not just the manatees in the flooded forest either, we've got some other cool animals here. An angelfish, and an electric eel. What an amazing animal that is. Let's check out the underwater tunnel for the giant otters. Here we go. They are so graceful when they swim, big contrast to how boisterous they are when they're on land. They might not be as cute as the Asian small-clawed otters, but they are absolutely magnificent in their own way. Back outside, and unfortunately the weather is beginning to turn. It looks like it is going to get very wet very soon, but we'll see what we can find before the skies open. Like this Cuvier's dwarf caiman. These are the smallest of the crocodilians. I normally see these in pretty small tanks in zoos, so it was great to see them in a habitat like this where they've got loads of room. What have we got here? This is a non-aquatic habitat, mainly featuring agoutis. They are so cute. These are a rodent, sort of halfway between a rabbit and a capybara. Look at its little nose twitching. These guys are all over this habitat, along with various species of birds and some tiny monkeys. I think they were marmosets or tamarins. Unfortunately, at this point, the skies opened and a mini monsoon appeared, which led to the zoo closing the river ride, which means we couldn't see all the animals at River Wonders. But what we did see next was one of the most popular zoo animals, the giant panda. Panda Forest contains both of the pandas, red and giant. They're not actually particularly closely related. The red panda was discovered first, and when they discovered the giant panda, as it also exclusively ate bamboo, they gave it the same name. But here she is, doing what pandas do, i.e. not a lot, but even sleeping, they are just so gorgeous. The red pandas are actually awake, but still not moving very much, but I don't mind that. It's always a treat to see them. On to the next river, the Yangtze. They have something really rare here, which I've never seen before. A Chinese giant salamander, the biggest amphibian in the world, I believe. Fish for scale, absolutely enormous. I didn't even know you could get amphibians of this size until a few years ago. On to the final river of the trip, the Mary River. We've got some horseshoe crabs here, which are absolutely amazing, and an animal that I always love to see, the adorable mud skipper. And that is the Mandai Wildlife Reserve. All 4 zoos in 2 days. I had such an amazing time. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. Bye.